Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us here with Twist Gaming live at Origins Game Fair 2017 in lovely Columbus, Ohio. We are here today with Ian of Griggling Games. Ian, what do you have to show us today?
Hi, well, today I'm showing Destination Neptune 2nd edition. Some of you may know Destination Neptune, the first edition that came out a couple years ago. And I hate to say anything bad about my own games, but I released it and it was okay and I like it, but I just felt like it wasn't everything I wanted it to be.
Okay.
And sometimes in life you have to do things and move on and you accept what has happened. But game designers don't do that, and they don't accept what happened. So I was driving home from a playtest one night, and I realized the mechanics that would make this the game that I really wanted it to be. I talked to my wife. I had made a prototype because I knew she would be very angry if I was working on a game that we had already published.
Okay.
But I said, well, try it. And so she's like, okay, of course, I'll try it. We worked on a prototype, and then she's like, okay, this is great. So we played every night for a couple times, twice for the following week.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, you should do this because it's worth doing it. So we did a small Kickstarter. We've done a very short print run to basically see if people will kind of give it another look, and I'm here to try to kind of like urge you, if you tried it before, to try it again, and if you saw reviews from the original one, to say
this is a new game,
way better. It's really like I had taken all the different parts, like if you were baking a cake, the eggs and the sugar and stuff like that, and instead of like this flat, tasteless thing, I'd actually made a wonderful angel food cake with delicious icing.
That works.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit, what is Destination Neptune? So anybody who hasn't seen the original
Sure.
game, just coming to the 2nd edition game, what is the concept here?
It's an optimistic look at the next 100 years in space. There's, first I'll say there's a lot more bits than I'm showing you. I just didn't want to kind of overwhelm you with a giant pile of pieces.
Yeah.
But there's going to be victory point markers, and this is a fame track. These little rocket ships move around. There's no space pirates, there's no aliens. This is really for people who are into the science.
Okay.
My father worked on the Saturn Five rockets.
Very
And
cool.
I don't really think of a heaven where he's watching me, but for my own karma, I felt like I needed something that would basically be right for myself to honor. I don't know.
It's very appropriate for Father's Day.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. It was just like I felt like I needed to do it. And there's something in me that said I needed the game to be what I wanted, what it should have been from the get-go. So.
Very cool.
Yeah, so what you got is these rockets kind of work like worker placement, and they move around. They go to different planets and go to the locations, and they build bases, factories, colonies, do research to get kind of find out, essentially establish your presence there.
Okay.
You're going to develop new technologies. You're going to try to become famous. You can cash your fame for credits to, like going to the market and getting investors.
Okay.
There's basically 7 different kinds of cards, and during your turn, you're going to be either drawing cards or playing cards, a little like the Ticket to Ride mechanism, where you have to choose between getting there first and slowing down your momentum because your cards are kind of your resources, or or waiting and then potentially losing an opportunity, but then having a more spectacular one turn. When you do play cards, you can play as many cards as you want, but you have to put another card in what's called the opportunity track, which essentially is going to be out for other players to take.
Okay.
So you're going to need twice as many cards as you have plays, and you can't play the same card twice. So you can play up to 7 cards in one turn.
That's an interesting mechanic, the discard mechanic, because not only are you considering, I really don't want this card, but do I want somebody else to get this card?
Exactly. So amongst people who played it a few times, that becomes a major thought. I really like really thinky games, but I don't like games that take a million years, and I don't like games where you have to do a lot of stuff with your hands, like digitation, like, I don't know how to explain it, but digitation probably means something, is in a digital world, means something completely different, but I mean actually using your fingers to move pieces around. So it's really more like, so it's a lot of, most of the time spent sort of thinking about plotting your turn out.
Strategy.
Right, exactly. So what's happening is that, and I'm gonna be releasing this next week to my distributors. But basically, the base game, I'm going to lower the price from 50 to 30, so that you can get the expansion for 20, and basically as the MSRP. And so you get essentially the game that you should have gotten for $50. It's still going to be $50.
Is the expansion a standalone expansion?
It
or
is
is
a standalone expansion, so it's
Okay.
not a whole second edition release. It's really come to the expansion is not currently in distribution. It's right now on our sort of pre-order site after the Kickstarter. You can still get it, and I'm just sort of getting ramped up. We released it at Origins, but really it's available, but not widely. It's just sort of trickling out there now.
Okay.
But it's definitely available directly from us. And then in a few weeks, maybe a month and a half, we'll see it in more channels. Right now, I'm looking to see how well it's accepted, and if people really love this new one, which I think they will if they try it, then I'll get a bigger print run, and we'll get it all.
So this is basically a victory points game?
That's right. So you get victory points for getting, most of them are gotten from your factories and colonies, but you can also get victory points for being the most famous.
Okay.
And there's a couple other ways. For example, if you are the person who gets the Intrepid Spacefarer is kind of like longest road in Catan or something. But basically, the person who gets the furthest out into space will get those 3 points at the end. And the diversification is essentially for the person who has bases on the most number of planets. They'll get that at the end. So the expansion, aside from having 108 new cards, you'll also get some new bits, just to add to the original game. And you can use them for whatever you like. But I've decided I wanted to give people more stuff also these cool new tiles that go on the board. In the original version, locations weren't really specifically exclusive, but in the new version, I felt like because once you take a location, nobody else can go there.
Right.
I wanted a second location on the asteroid belt, and I also wanted to introduce a fairly recent discovery of Planet 9, which we don't even know, we've never even seen pictures of, but we can tell is there from the gravitational forces. And this is about 3 times further out from Earth than Pluto in what's in the Oort cloud. And
It sounds like all of us know they regulate the planets in the solar system, and I see those listed here. But you have bits and pieces of science, which I guess that you've spent some good time researching to ensure that this is accurate, and I'm sure that's very much so appreciated by people who are actually interested in the science of a game.
That's right. I'm really into the science, and again, it said having a fascination of having my father try to explain things when I'm like a 5-year-old or something, and going down to Florida and saying, "Oh, see that's what we did," and and watching on TV, and he bought me a gyroscope because he was working on the gyroscope guidance system, just so he could explain how a gyroscope worked.
Oh, very cool.
And just he was like, some people get to say, "Oh, what are you, a rocket scientist?" Well, my dad was. Anyhow, that's not to have it be like this hero worship, but what can I say?
Yeah.
It's like I wished everybody's dad was their hero. What else? What can I tell you about it?
Does the board, does this particular board come with the expansion, or is this part of the base game?
This is the base game. What you're going to get in the expansion is 108 cards, more bits, these 2 tiles, and that's it.
Okay.
Right. And the rule booklet, of course. The other thing that if you have played before is that these are new cards. These are attribute cards.
Okay.
So these sort of get drafted at the beginning of the game. And one of the things, many of you may know, Richard Ham, Murado, he said to me, he really loved the first edition, but I really hate the fact that the solar system is what it is, and so that the starting position is always the same. So I introduced these to kind of make the players change their game a little, so they just give you kind of slightly different starting abilities, right?
Okay.
This one you have an extra, your speed is +1 to begin, things like that. So they all kind of change your game a little bit, so it varies it up, but not so game-bustingly, just a little bit, so it makes the game very, it adds gives them a great deal of variety.
How many players does this game play?
It will play 2 to 4. The game will end when you go through your deck. And so one of the things is that if you didn't see, the original version, the 2-player was a little bit weak. It was like a lot of multiplayer games where, okay, here's rules. If you have to play with 2 people, you can. This one, it is absolutely, if you didn't know, if you just took these away and you didn't know there was a third and fourth player, you wouldn't even realize it wasn't. It could be a multiplayer. And if you only played multiplayer, you'd say, I didn't realize you could play. It plays seamlessly well, no matter, not with 1 player, but with 2 or more. It's not a good solitaire game because it's a hidden hand of cards.
That kind of is a little preventative.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I want to talk about some of the other stuff. So how do we
Sure,
have time
absolutely. So
to
what else?
quote Jon Stewart.
No, you're good.
Okay.
So what else do you have coming on down the pipeline?
Okay, so those of you who have ever heard of me probably know me from Quartermaster General, which is a fast-paced World War II game. Because that won the Golden Geek nomination, the International Gamer Award nomination, and the Trick Track Gold Medal for the French edition.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And it's also, if you speak Russian, there's a Russian edition. Portuguese is coming, and we're working on German and Spanish and others. But anyhow, it's we'll see what the future holds. But in the meantime, I've got out from last year a 1914 and a Peloponnesian War versions that you may not know about because they were published by Plastic Soldier Company, who really loved my designs and wanted me to design games for him, and so he could make cool little plastic pieces for them.
Okay.
I'm doing so. That's past, but recent past. Now into the near future, I've just submitted a new game for him, a design. This is a much more traditional war game. I don't have it to show because it's now looking prototype stage, and it doesn't look like something like you'd want to buy. It would just be. But that's going to be another card-driven war game, but a little bit more deeper. It's the 10 months following D-Day. The rules themselves are rather simple, especially for sort of a grog nerd game, but all the details on the cards, I felt like those of you who are my age, and I won't quite admit, but I think you can guess from Saturn Five an age thing that I'm older than I seem, perhaps, because I seem like a 12-year-old. The great thing about cards is they allow you a lot of space to do different things compared to, say, a counter or a rule, and the card also allows you to introduce a new rule. Like, kind of the magic of Magic is that you can play in 5 minutes and every card has a new rule, but you only have to learn them one at a time and only at the moment where they're important. So that's essentially what this is allowing me all the space, so the individual units involved can have special qualities about them that you would never find in a lot of traditional war games because it would just be too much special rules. And now I just put it on the cards, and that's going to have flavor just that are particular to the tactic unit. And so that one, you can look for it on Kickstarter later this year, but I'm not totally in control because it's Plastic Soldier Company. I'm just designing that for them. I'm working on a 3-person expansion for Quartermaster General. Those of you who know the game know that that is the least desirable number of players for the game.
Okay.
2 or 6 seems to be the most popular. And a lot of people say, well, we like all the rest, but 3 players is really not that fun.
Okay.
Because it's a team game, and when you have teams of 3, then you end up having, it's kind of like 1 person playing 1 power, 1 person playing 2, and 1 person playing 3, and the person with 1 doesn't really have enough activity.
Okay.
And so that's going to take the Western bloc, the Soviet bloc, and the non-aligned bloc, essentially, and pit them against each other. And now 3-person games suffer from sort of this kingmaker, like 1 person can make, and a lot of you may have had hard feelings in Catan, like, you can't win, but you can decide who wins, who is going to win. I've decided I will slightly embrace that throughout the entire game. So as you're scoring points, 1 person's constantly ahead, and the other 2 players will be constantly looking to take them down. And then when the momentum shifts, all of a sudden the alignments shift. And it's been, at first I was a little bit like, is that going to work? And everybody's tried it, has really loved it.
Very cool.
I hate to say it, but the WMD cards, which I'm kind of a pacifist. I don't really want to see a nuclear war. I have to tell you, when I blew up my Minutemen and my MX missiles against my wife, I loved it. It was like, she was really
Very satisfying.
beating me bad, and I just nuked her, and it was great. So that's kind of got this mechanic where there's an escalation. So you lose victory points for blowing up your WMDs, but if you hit an opponent who's been escalating against you, the victory point penalty is lessened. So throughout the game, it kind of I'm glad that real history didn't turn out the way the game frequently does, but as a game,
fun to see
and it's really fun. I'm working on a secret project. Which I'm basically leaking right now, not anonymously.
Okay.
So I'm the leaker. You can blame me. It's for It's going to be very similar to the Quartermaster General system, but with no board, just cards only, and it is because I can't really talk about it because it uses some very expensive intellectual property that I myself don't have access to it.
Okay.
But this is what I'm doing, heads down, and because people want to say, what are you working on? It's like, I'm working on something I really can't tell you on, but I'm working really diligently on it, and you're going to love it when it comes out.
Where can our audience find you on social media to catch up on any news on the new projects you're working on?
Okay, I'm famously bad at marketing, but I have a Facebook page that I'll update, once or twice a week. I have a website which is more of a static, like it tells me about the products and how to get it, but the social media on Facebook is really where I'm doing the.
Is that under
update.
your name, or is that under Griggling Games?
Griggling Games, and you can become my friend or whatever. I'm not like, I don't restrict my friends to really like my actual friends or whatever. So a lot of so if you want to kind of know more about me, it's like a lot of times people like to connect with the designer, and sometimes I put things on my own page that have to do with game design that I don't want to put on the Griggling Games because I don't want. Like I want it to, like it might be earlier than I want. I don't want it to be a press release.
So much public.
I just want somebody. Well, I want it to be sort of an unofficial news.
Great.
So, for example, if you have things about the Cold War that you said a Cold War game without this would not be a Cold War game, I want to know that. There's another project that's a really long term that a guy and I were working on a 30 Years War, which I know is a very limited interest. I frankly am not very expert at it, so I'm kind of been doing a lot of research so that even though he's been doing a lot of the research for me, he's not a PhD and history studying that, so I can't just say, well, ask him.
Needs some help on getting
that's
some
like
information.
probably maybe even into 2019. And I know he also has another game that the bigger publisher he's been working on. But so that's kind of a lot in the pipeline, but definitely expect the World War II Shafe game, certainly the Kickstarter later this year, and the Cold War. The best time to launch a Kickstarter is in January or February, so I really just need to figure out whether, but I'm going to be ready sooner, so if you tell me I need the game sooner, maybe I'll do the Kickstarter in October or something like that.
Very cool, Ian. Well, I'm very excited to hear about all the projects that you have down the pipeline, and I hope that you keep us updated.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks.
Thank you.